you can say, I go to the bathroom, therefore I exist, if you want to be crude. You can say, I sneeze, therefore I exist. You can say, I spit, therefore I exist. As long as you do what? Have the what in there? The pronoun, I. You said, once you get the pronoun in there and you have a first principle, something exists. The I who's doing it. Something that, so that it's just that Descartes put it in the most elegant way possible. You could say, I dream, therefore I exist. You could say anything, and you get a first principle. But his first principle is the most elegant, I think, that one could imagine. I think we like it anyway. It pleases us. I think, therefore I exist. And he went on from there. So that's what's, not that that means anything to us, but that's what our modern university is based on. So, when I spoke about Daniel now, I said that there are some people, I'm sure people in this class would say, I don't care about Daniel. Daniel came before Muhammad. Anything before Muhammad, I reject. Now, I'm sure there are people who speak like that. You know that there are people who speak like that. If you're a believer in Islam or not a believer in Islam, you know there are people who speak like that. I don't care about anything before the Prophet. How many have heard people speak like that? Well, or heard about people who speak like that? Well, I've seen plenty of people who speak like that. Yeah, it's not just in Islam, it's in Judaism too, it's in Christianity too. Jesus Christ saves and so on and so forth, and that's it, I'm not able to think about Islam, Jesus is everything for me, and so on and so forth. Well, the fact of the matter is that I don't think you could have Islam without Daniel. And I don't think you could have Christianity without Daniel either. Daniel is a key book. And in Daniel, most Muslims don't know that an angel is mentioned for the first time. By what name? Gabriel. That is a book written, according to believing Christians, 6th century BC. According to scholars, you see, we argue with each other even in these areas. 2nd century BC. And we can prove, I think, if you take a Dead Sea Scrolls class with me, I can easily prove it to you, can I, Mr. Paris, that Daniel's written in the 2nd century BC. There may be parts of it that go back to the 6th century BC, but some of the key parts are in the 2nd century BC. And Daniel is the first one in any biblical book to really name the angels. In the other books, how many have read a Bible at all? Yeah, see, you may have heard it in church or something, but that's as far as it goes. One of the problems, again, about the Bible is that we're going to read the Quran. You're going to be more familiar with the Quran than the Bible, most of you. One of the problems with the Bible, I'm doing this as background so we all know where we stand in this situation that we're in. We're in a bad situation in the world at the moment in terms of intercultural relations. So it helps to sort some of these things out from all sides, so that people don't get the wrong idea or think that they have the only idea or the right idea. There is something to know, and we can teach what there is to know in a university, which we try to do. In this Daniel book, he actually names the angels for the first time. There are other books that didn't get into the Bible that also have some of the angel names that we get from the Dead Sea Scrolls, or what we call the apocryphal literature. Apocrypha means books that didn't get into the standard collections, extra. It's really a Greek word meaning additional books. It's nothing mysterious. It just means a Greek word meaning additional books that didn't get into the Orthodox collections. The angels are mentioned in those books to some extent too, but we wouldn't know the names of the angels. I bet you probably only know, if you're a Muslim, one angel. What's his name? Gabriel. Sometimes, by the way, the prophet speaks the Spirit, instead of Gabriel, meaning the Holy Spirit that Christianity speaks about. And Gabriel is identified with the Holy Spirit in some of the surahs of the Quran. So that's fine, but most Muslims wouldn't know. They would think, oh, Gabriel's something that's running around. Well, no, Gabriel was named in the book of Daniel in the 2nd century BC. Daniel is the first person that met Gabriel as an angel. He speaks about Gabriel. But there are other angels. For instance, how many have heard of Sariel? Ariel, not Ariel Sharon, but Ariel. All these angels had these names: Ariel, Sariel, Gabriel, Jibril. Michael, Michael, Michael had a specific function as the guardian angel of Israel. And he's actually mentioned in the Dead Sea Scroll documents in what's called the War of the Sons against the Sons of Darkness as a very important warrior angel in what's called the War Scroll. It was overlooking the final war against all evil on the earth. That's outlined in this War Scroll from what the Dead Sea Scrolls that I went to Italy to talk about. The Dead Sea Scrolls, in case you're not aware of them, were scrolls that were found along the Dead Sea, that's why we call them the Dead Sea Scrolls, in caves. At the time of the Arab-Israeli, Israel didn't exist then, the Jewish-Arab eruptions in 1947, the warring disagreements and other things that occurred. Right in the midst of that, the scrolls were found and brought up to Jerusalem in the middle of that period from 1947 to 48 when the first Arab-Israeli wars broke out at that time. There's something miraculous about all that, I think, in terms of the timing. Why should the Dead Sea Scrolls have just come to light at that time? Documents from the 1st century AD or the 1st century BC. I mean, huge catch of documents found originally by Bedouin shepherds, although there's some disagreement about that. But in any case, right in the middle of the Arab-Israeli dislocations and upsets of 47, 48. So Michael is mentioned in the War Scroll. It's one of the scrolls that was found pretty much intact in the Qumran area in 1948, 49, 50, 51, and so on. And they're very interesting documents, and you can Google me up, and there'll be people saying a lot of bad things about me and good things about me relating to the scrolls, but you'll find me there, and you can Amazon me up, and you'll find the books I've written on that subject. So I've also written one book on Islam that doesn't get mentioned, the Islamic law book. So I studied Islamic law at Columbia University for my PhD. So I have a book on Islamic law. But when I came out here to California as a young teacher, nobody was interested in Islamic law, so I had to teach what people were interested in order to make classes go. You couldn't do a class on Islamic law, you'd have one student. Cal State didn't go on the basis of one student. So you have to do, and people, when I first came here in the 70s, guess what people were interested in? Jesus. Everyone, if you mentioned Jesus, you were home free. So, it was, so if you got a course relating to Jesus, people would take it. So you have to get things that people could take in the religious studies department. We're just being born back then. Anyway, to go back to Daniel, he mentions Gabriel, but in Daniel, Gabriel is not the angel of revelation, as he is in the Quran. Gabriel is the angel that